Hey, and what's up guys? Welcome to another video. In today's video, we are starting a new series of Nano Aquascaping tutorials. As you guys all know, we are currently all kind of locked down, self-quarantine time, 2020, stay safe. But you know, nonetheless, I would like to provide you cool content. For that reason, I have scaped. You can see this lineup of Nano Aquariums. Not all of them are scaped yet, but we have 5 already finished, 2 more to go, and yeah, I would like to give you a brief overview of these aquariums, and in today's video we're going to start with the first of them. On the very left side we have a pretty tall DOOA Neo Glass Air container that is going to feature a piece of cork bark. This is going to be some sort of a waterfall aqua terrarium. Next, we have over here the slightly vertical DOOA Neo Glass. Most of them are DOOA Neo Glass aquariums, but I have some more coming to the series that are not branded. In here we have some type of babicusa. Next, we have this very shallow container, and this is one of my favorites, I can tell by now already, featuring terrestrial moss. In the middle over here we have the Botanica Boutique moss, sanctuary, some sort of moss terrarium. Super cool new product. Very fortunate to be one of the first in Europe to try this out. Very exciting. Here we have the 20 cube from DOOA Neo. This one is running already for 2 weeks in the dry start, and I use the lazy dry start method, and I think we're going to start with this one today. Next we have this small mini pond, one of my favorites as well. I've seen so many cool mini ponds on Instagram and got a lot of inspiration, and that one is going to blow your mind. Finally, on the very right side we have the DOOA Terra base, which is like a tree trunk that is going to have a lot of moss of epiphytes. This one is still to be scaped in the future. So guys, make sure to stay till the very end, because you can vote for which one of these, the making of process, you would like to see in the next week's video. And now, without any further ado, let's get started with the 20 centimeter cube. I would like to use today's build of this 20 centimeter DOOA Neo Glass Air to demonstrate to you the dry start method. And I would like to take the dry start method to the next level, which I call the lazy dry start method. I have done this before in my 60p solar RGB aquarium. It works like magic. So if you're familiar how a dry start works, that one is even easier. You basically just sprinkle the plants, you don't have to plant them, but I will get to that in a second. Before we get started on this aquarium, I would like to prepare the lid. I have the matching 20 by 20 centimeters lid, and yeah, that is quite a nice feature of those DOOA Neo Glass aquariums, that they offer the matching lid. And what I want to do here is they come with a little, you see here, a little, like little rubber feet, you can call them. So let me rotate this to the back side, and then take this little rubber feet out of the plastic bag, and then basically just apply to the corners. What they do, first of all, they keep a little distance between the glass and the lid, between the rim of the aquarium and the lid. And these little rubber stickers, when applied to the corners, are going to prevent the lid from sliding on top of the aquarium. It's going to hold it in place. And also because they have a little thickness to them, they're going to allow just a little bit of air circulation from inside to the outside, which will make it a lot easier. You don't have to open it too many times, but at the same time you have very good humidity inside. But to the care instructions I will get later on in that video, so make sure you stick till the end. So, applying these little stickers to the corners. Yeah, they keep a little distance between the rim of the aquarium and the lid, so the scape can breathe inside. And you don't have too much of like moisture on the glass. But that really depends on the amount of humidity you have inside. But we're going to have quite a lot of humidity in here for the plants. So we will have probably some moisture on the glass for sure. So you see now it's closed and I can toss it and it literally sticks to the surface, which is good. But at the same time you can open it just like this. So let's remove it and put it to the side. We don't need it at the moment. And now focus on what is going inside. As for the substrate, I'm going to use soil substrate simply because it looks good. I like the dark color and also it offers a lot of nutrients and it's ready out of the bag. So let's put this inside, a good amount of soil. This is approximately 1.5 liters. So that is around about 2 liters of soil. And I would like to create some sort of a island shape so it can be viewed from all sides. You know, I can rotate it a little bit like this and moving the soil towards the core, the middle of the aquarium, creating like a pyramid in the middle. Or should I make a layout that is only viewed from 3 sides? Mainly have the back as the back side of the aquarium. Yeah, I guess so. The reason why this idea change came now to my mind, because as I see now, there's quite a lot of soil already in the foreground. If I add a little bit of if I start adding the hardscape, it's going to push the soil down and I don't want it to look like there is a lot of soil in it. So I really like the narrow kind of foreground when it looks like there is very little substrate and it gives a great depth to the layout. Just like this, you can see from the side, it just all piled up towards the back. Okay, so the substrate is in. Next, I'm going to start scaping it. Let me have a look on it from the front. Yeah, it's very shallow in the foreground. As for hardscape, I'm going to use mini landscape rock. I have a selection of small pieces in the box here. And yeah, I think I'm going for, I don't know, is it going to be diorama style or Brazilian style? I'm not sure, guys. Basically, I want to keep it simple, so I haven't prepared any layout for this one, so this is really like 100% spontaneous aquascaping here. So I guess what I'm going to try, yeah, just build some sort of vertical shape to the layout, add some rocks and kind of support them with smaller rocks in the back. Really want to keep this one simple. So all the lines for me are going to that right corner, and that rock fits perfectly in the back. It has this small structure. Let's get this rock more to the back. Keep that one in the front. Let's see what we get here. Can I have a look from the front? Okay, I want to align it a little bit to the glass and see how it's going to look like. Probably haven't got the correct rocks right away. Having a good selection definitely helps. So let me check from the front. What do we get here? Oh, maybe I will go for a little different variation here. You know, guys, most often, or the question I get asked the most is where I get my inspiration for the layouts. And this is really by just working with a hardscape. When I see some stuff that I like a lot, yeah, I just go for it. Sometimes this is like a spontaneous decision when I see some material that I really want to use. I don't know, there's like an idea that pops up in my mind and I have to execute on it. So I want to have those lines going to the outside of the aquarium. And what does it look like? I'm not happy with it yet. That one has to go to the back. And we need something different in front of it. I like saying the more rocks you have, the better it is, but the downside of it is definitely it is becoming kind of more difficult to create something nice and pleasant. So that is a nice rock, but the lines are kind of going into the wrong direction, not the way I want it. So let's swap out and use it. On that side, that's starting to look like something. Again, now you see why I changed the layout perspective to all towards the back. Otherwise, I would have problems definitely with the soil coming down here. And yeah, if I check that, I like the look from the front. So we have some sort of a twisted path that is becoming more narrow towards the back and goes in here somewhere in that corner. I could even maybe use cosmetic sand in here. I haven't decided yet. Let's wait and see. Maybe I will even use cosmetic sand in here. I don't know yet, guys. Yeah, so I need definitely some sort of rock down here. or maybe even 2 rocks. No, that is getting too close. Maybe something like this. How does it work? I think it's not bad. We get a nice structure in here, those diagonal lines, and you can see a path going up here in a, what is it called, like a zigzag. I think I like it. Maybe this rock needs to be changed a little bit somehow. It just feels like it lacks a little bit of structure here. Yeah, maybe a bigger rock might work in the foreground. That is probably almost like too big. And that one in the front of it. Yeah, that one is somehow too big. What else do we have in here? Oh, that one looks nice. That one could work well. I think that's it, guys. That one is going to work for me. It has the diagonal lines. Let's check it once again from the front. And adjust the rock position, do like some final adjustments to it. Yeah, I like those vertical lines on all the rocks. This one looks literally like a mountain chain in the background, really like it. That one has a lot of structure here in the back. Again, vertical lines on this one. The one in the front, however, doesn't support the vertical lines too much. Maybe this way. Yeah, like this. That works a lot better. Keeping it here, I want it to be very simple. This is definitely not a contest-winning work, but it's just to demonstrate how you can quickly and effectively create something. Basically what I did, I aligned the rocks in those parallel lines and tried to have the vertical structure displayed in all of the rocks. And you can see the vertical structure in here in this rock, vertical structure here, vertical structure here, in that rock, even here the vertical lines. And if you see from the top, we have a twisted way that goes all the way to the back and is becoming more narrow towards the back of the aquarium. And that is what we want here. So, do we call the hardscape finished? Or no, I definitely want more substrate in the back because as you see right now, there's like plenty of free space behind the rocks. And because we do the dry start, or like I call it the lazy dry start, it is super easy to, or there is no risk of substrate shifting down because everything is going to root without any critters or water changes or water movement inside. So the roots of the plants are going to keep everything in place. So we can go really deep with the slope in the back. And I would say let's make use of this for that layout and add more soil to the back. So taking, yeah, let me show you from the back how I fill in the soil.
That is a really extreme slope, guys, here in the back, and we are going to have plants growing up here as well. It is going to be a little bit difficult to trim afterwards, but that is a problem for another day. Yeah, that's cool, I like it. So just some more behind this rock and here in the middle. So added like a little bit of extra soil in those corners to create more depth in here, but let me just brush some of the soil away from the middle path, because this is where I want to have my cosmetic sand. But before we add in the cosmetic sand, I would like to top everything just with a very thin layer of powder soil, and the reason to do so is like the main reason to use powder type soil. It is mainly because of the fine structure. The roots of the carpeting plants are going to root a lot faster because they have a lot more contact. You know, actually I don't have to use powder in here because of the dry start, but I think it is going to just smooth the look of the aquarium a little bit. So let me get some powder for you. So here we go again. I will start from the back by adding just a very little bit of powder. This is not going to add to the substrate height at all. Maybe a millimeter or something, but it is just to smooth out the substrate, the surface of the soil, and provide a more easier way for the carpeting plants to root in their new environment. You can see some sort of dust coming from here. This is because this bag of powder soil has been open for a while and it has dried out. So when you don't use your soil, I highly recommend you close the bag, you zip tie it so the soil can remain its natural humidity. Then you will reduce the amount of dust or amount of the potential dust. That's it. The substrate is in, the hardscape is in the place. A final check from the front. I like it. We have a nice perspective, and the only thing right now, I feel like the rocks that are a little bit buried in the substrate, and if you add the plants, the rocks are going to be almost completely invisible. So what I would like to do now is just gently, but very gently, pull out the rocks a tiny little bit. You know, like just a 5 millimeters, just pull them out very little to make sure they sit kind of on top of the substrate. Okay, you see here, just a little bit, without destroying the scape. That is important. We just put so much work in creating this nice scape, we don't want to destroy it right away. So, but that one is big. I'm not worried about this one. So, and here we go. The rocks are, in my opinion, better visible right now, and we have this little diorama style. Could be also maybe like a little Brazilian style because of the rock composition, but honestly, Brazilian style, if you haven't seen my video, I will link it above. The main characteristic of the Brazilian style is using heavy stem plants, and we're not using stem plants in this layout. For that, the size of the aquarium is simply too small. But if that was a bigger tank and we would plant it with stems, the rock position is almost identical. It could be a Brazilian aquascape. Okay, hardscape is done. Now is the big question, if I should or should not add any cosmetic sand inside. And to be honest, I'm really tempted. I really want to have a little cosmetic sand path in here. Should I do it? You know what, guys? Let's do it. Let's add cosmetic sand in here. Yeah, I don't know. If I don't like it, I can just let the plants grow all over the place and then it will be hidden. So let's get some cosmetic sand. So as for cosmetic sand, I use once again the ADA La Plata. It is very nice cosmetic sand. I really like using it. Great color, great size of the grain. And the way I'm going to apply it, I'm going to start in the back, like from where I want the sand path to kind of be over. You see, start adding it, and then I see, you can start see here how the sand falls down. This is important because this way the water would flow down. So I keep adding from the top, and then I see a natural sand path, how it's created, the direction of the flow. You see here, comes to the front. Yeah, and we can allow it to become a little bit wider in the front. That's it. We have sand, a sand path, and that little tiny nano. How does it look like from the front? I think it's cool. I think it's gorgeous. I like it a lot. It adds to the depth of the aquarium. And to give it like the final touch of details, I have here in that bucket some, yeah, just small gravels. Let me just pick out the biggest ones and some unnecessary rubbish I have in here and get a little spoon. I like using this tiny spoon here to scoop some details, and the way I'm going to add it is, again, I will start at the top and just sprinkle on the outside of the band. Where the path kind of bends, sprinkle some of these to add a natural touch to it. I think, yeah, this way it already looks super natural. This is basically just small mini landscape gravels. If you want to get some of these yourself, just get a big hammer and go outside. Stay away from any cars and expensive objects. You might want to use old towel as some sort of a, I don't want to say ground protection, but if you break the rocks on the old towel, you can just then, you know, just collect all the small particles and put them into a bag or into a container, because if they're on the ground, then you have to scoop them together. Yeah, I mean, the towel afterwards is going to be destroyed. Yeah, this way you can get a lot of small gravels to do this kind of decoration works yourself, or go to your local fish store who sells the type of hardscape material, your favorite type of hardscape material that you're using, and eventually they have like those hardscape boxes. Get everything out of the hardscape boxes, and at the bottom you will find those, I call them like gold nuggets, like mini landscape nuggets, you know, like those small pieces. Just scoop it together, you know. I think in most cases you will get it like for free, because, you know, the weight is minimal and there are always some little pieces that break off. Okay, now up to the planting process. I'm using 3 types of carpeting plants. One of them is Marsilea hirsuta. Another one we have here that is the wrong cup. It says Pogostemon erectus, but there is Eleocharis mini inside. The reason is I have used those plants in a previous build, and I just put the remaining Eleocharis mini into the wrong cup. But this is the right cup. This is Micranthemum Monte Carlo. So we have 3 types of carpeting plants, and they are tissue culture plants. And yeah, by the way, big shout out to Tropica for providing these plants for this series. Great quality, always super fresh plants from Denmark. Those tissue cups come in a sealed version. There is a breathable lid, so there is like a gas exchange that can happen, but no bacteria can get inside and contaminate the nutritious liquid. As you can see, there is liquid inside. That's the best thing about it. So you just open the lid, a little ASMR here. Then you remove the plant, you see the liquid, there it goes. Liquid medium, and the plant is clean. You could give it a clean wash under your tap, but basically this plant is ready to use. So let's get rid of all the liquid medium here. So we just keep the plants. And the way I'm going to plant you, I explained in the beginning, this is going to be a dry start, and this is also the lazy dry start method. And what's so special about the lazy dry start method is that you don't have to plant any of the plants individually. I tested this method myself. I have to give credit to Art Commisso from Canada, my buddy in crime over at Moss Cotton, the t-shirts I wear in all of my videos. If you want to check them out, they will be linked down in the description below. He introduced me to that method. I tested it on my 60p solar RGB. There will be a link to the hashtag search in the description as well. And yeah, it has been copied since then several times. A very impressive example is one from Crabopolis, who created an iwagumi for crayfish using this method. So it's proven, it definitely works, and I did a couple, how to call it, like greenhouse experiments with various types of carpeting plants, and they all work perfectly. So at least the species that I have tested, they have all worked out. Monte Carlo, Hemianthus cuba, Eleocharis, Marsilea, Lidealopsis, Glossostigma. Is there anything missing? Guys, I don't know, let me know if I'm missing any plants here. But all of these, you know, trendy carpeting plants, they all work out with a lazy dry start. Now let's get to it. Starting with the Monte Carlo. So what do you want to do with the Monte Carlo? Just separate it. And I could use just one pot of Monte Carlo to plant the entire Nano, literally just a portion, like half a cup. This is not even a half a cup, I've already used some of it, would be enough. I think 1 cup of Monte Carlo would be even enough to do a 60p aquarium, a 60 centimeter. And what I want to do, I'm just separating the Monte Carlo into individual stems. You just pull it all apart. This is, you know, if you want to plant it in a regular way, this is like aquascaper's nightmare, having a myriad of small Monte Carlo stems. But for this method, this is perfect. If you already have an established Monte Carlo carpet, you can even use your trimmings for this method into a different tank. What you want is basically small pieces of Monte Carlo, small stems, that you can then sprinkle on the soil evenly. So I'm just dividing it into, yeah, as many small portions as I can. You don't have to be like super gently, just don't rip it apart completely. You can even cut it in small pieces. You know what, guys? I'm just going to trim it. Just taking the Monte Carlo, the entire cup, and just cutting it like in 1 centimeter small cuttings. The same way like I would cut Monte Carlo, you know, if it was in a tank and a carpet. So I cut it down to those small cuttings, and I'm even going to go with my scissors here and just shorten it a little bit, but don't cut it down into, you know, like millimeter size. I would say anything like between 2 centimeters and 5 millimeters is fine, so that you can evenly sprinkle it on top of the soil. So that would be already enough to cover the entire soil in the aquarium. And yeah, I would like to have just a little bit more control over the Eleocharis mini and the Marsilea hirsuta. For that reason, I'm going to plant it on purpose in areas where I want it to be. And mainly I want Marsilea hirsuta to be in the foreground to add a little bit of the larger leaf size to the scale of the aquarium, and Eleocharis mini more towards the back to mimic some sort of forest or something in the back. So the plants are prepared, that's it, super quick. Now let's get the tank back in place. Oh, I love the small aquariums, they're so small. You can take them with you for a walk if you wanted to. So what do we do first? I would suggest we first plant, I mean, you've been waiting for the lazy method, so let's sprinkle the plants first. Let's take the Monte Carlo, taking like 1/2 here of the cuttings. I'm taking it and I'm just going to sprinkle it over the soil areas on both sides. Let's add some of it to the background as well. Okay, just like this. A little bit of Monte Carlo everywhere. And you might be thinking now, what is Jurijs doing there? Just, that looks like parsley. And I'm actually tempted to eat some of it. just for the purpose to eat plants on camera. You can do that. Monte Carlo is not harmful if you want. If you're hungry, comment down below if you already tried any plants, how they taste. I know Oliver Knott does it a lot in his workshops. I did it when I was at Green Aqua. So Balázs and I, we tried Alternaterra reinecke mini because Balázs said Alternaterra reinecke mini must taste sweet because shrimps love it. They kind of eat it, the first plant. When they're hungry, they start eating it. So yeah, just let's keep the Monte Carlo to the soil areas. Put some here strategically in between the rocks. Spread out a little bit with tweezers so we get some sort of even as possible coverage. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but the more even you cover the soil, the better, because the faster you're going to have a solid carpet. So, I mean, as soon as it is rooted, it's going to grow the regular way, like if you have planted it into the soil. But if it's already spreaded evenly, it's like when you plant it evenly into the soil, it is having the same effect. You're having a nicer result. Don't use too many of those stamps, because if they have several layers and don't have like immediate access or touching points with soil, the result of this technique might be, I don't know, not as good. For me, it was even growing on the rocks. If the humidity is there, I don't know what the plants feed from, but yeah, they just grow like crazy. And do I need, yeah, over there, I need some more. On this side. Everything else, this side, yeah, that kind of looks not bad. I would say that looks more or less evenly spread out. I will just take a few stamps and put them strategically here in between the rocks. I have already put a stem here in between the rocks. Let's spread out those freshly added cuttings a little bit more. And if we wanted a monoculture, I would call it done. Plant it, just you know, then continue to moisturing and spraying everything. But I want some more carpeting plants for the accents, like I said it before. And yeah, let's start with the Eleocharis mini. in the background. For that purpose, let me rotate the tank around. I think this rotating plate is really handy, so you can always see the tank from the right side. And this also makes the work for myself a little bit easier. So that one, I'm just going to plant a few positions in the back behind the rocks, just a little bit, not too much, as it otherwise is going to be everywhere. And I definitely don't want too much of it in here, but that's fine. Come on, stay there. Okay, a little here, a little there, maybe some more here in the back. Just one more portion. Okay, we got this. And the mid-ground, I'm not going to use any Eleucharis, that's it, just very little. And now Marsilea hirsuta, 2 small portions for the foreground, so we get this sort of larger scale leaves going on in the foreground, just planting it in the corners. One here on the left side. And another small portion on the right side. That's it. It's going to spread out from there. And we're basically done with planting. I don't know, I could add some moss on the rocks, really go crazy and fancy, do maybe the moss mud method. If you don't know what that is, let me know in the comments down below, and there will be a special video about this technique, but it's definitely something for another video. Okay, there you go, planting completed. So far, this has been the lazy dry start method. Equal to the dry start method, we are not going to flood the tank. We're not going to fill it up with water, we're going to keep it just wet. And to do so, I will get my large spray bottle, spray everything wet, and there will be something important to that technique as to how much water to use, because what I see so often on the internet that people use way too much water during this dry start period. They literally spray the plants so much that the water starts to build up in the front, and then it's just too much. The plants start to rot. You want very little water, and the exact amount I'm going to show you right now. So here we have my tiny spray bottle, and because people are asking what kind of water I'm using, this is regular tap water. The reason why I'm using just regular tap water is the soil is very acidic. It's making the, well, it's not very acidic, but it's lowering the pH in the substrate. And yeah, it's absorbing the minerals. Long term with water and rocks, I'm not too worried about it. But there's just no point in using soft water because it's just to keep the substrate wet. For spraying afterwards, however, I would use demineralized water like reverse osmosis water or rainwater, or some kind of very soft water, just to avoid unnecessary calcium markings on the glass. But we will not need too much spraying here anyway, just in the beginning a little bit. Okay, here we go. Let's put it up a little bit. And yeah, I'm starting gently. The main purpose of spraying down is to also press down the plants closer to the soil. Maybe you can see on that side. By spraying, you see how the water is pressing the plants down Also, I wash the soil off from the rocks a little bit. Be careful not to wash your soil down like it has, or not the plants down like it has happened here. Let's move that back to that spot. Yeah, that's okay. And if we have a look on the soil, how wet it is, for example, from the background, hopefully that is visible on camera, you can see that I don't spray as much water that everything gets super wet. You know, best example here on the side, if I spray along the glass, you can see how some water is running down. And I want basically just the top 2-3 centimeters of soil to be really wet, and that's it. I don't want like too much water to be inside from the beginning. It's definitely wet enough, there is enough moisture in those areas, enough moisture to evaporate and kind of provide the plants with enough moisture while they're growing during the dry start. Basically, the more I spray, or over time, you can see the water running down towards the bottom, and basically you can say as soon as the water kind of hits the bottom glass, before it starts to build up, this is when you stop. You can see on that side, from spraying, the water has kind of reached the ground, so that side is definitely wet enough. The foreground, I don't have to spray too much because we have no plants in the middle section, and in the foreground, they're going to grow there eventually over time. That is enough here, and just a little bit more in the back. That is, guys, really enough of spraying. You don't have to spray more. From the beginning, that is enough. That is going to provide the layout with enough moisture for a long, long time. Let me just clean up the tank a little bit so you get a clean view again inside. And you see what's happening here. Oh, I really like how this one turned out. And when it's completely grown in, I will flood it with water and maybe add some micro rasboras, but we will see if that is going to happen. I would say actually that is probably too small to keep fish inside long term. So maybe just for the purpose of taking a photo, I might add in some small rasboras. Or what would you say? Shrimps, okay, snails, okay. And it might be really tricky with the filter. I think from the side with a hang-on back filter that could work. Or as a no filter, no CO2 setup could work as well. Those are all kind of easy category plants that should work. The problem is you want to provide the fish stable water parameters, and for that reason you need a good filtration. And I think if you can solve the problem with the filtration on a tank of this size, then nothing speaks against keeping small and dwarf size fish in here. And if you would put in fish, what fish would you put in? Let me know in the comments below. Let's have an open conversation about that. I know in some countries, specifically in Germany, there are some regulations. If you have like 20 liters, 25 liters, that is considered too small to keep nano fish in Germany. But this is just a recommendation. So what I do now, I'm cleaning off Monte Carlo from the sand path, as I definitely don't want Monte Carlo be growing on the sand path. right from the beginning. It might get there over time, but that is a different story. But for now, it should stay away from the sand pad. I would like to add a couple of small rocks here in the background, just to kind of finalize this scale, to get the most out of it. So this is really like the final touches. Taking a tiny rock like this and adding here in the back. Where's my tiny spray bottle? And that is the one I will need later on for spraying the plants permanently in that one, because you really don't need a lot of water in here. Let me check the scale from the front. Okay, that rock definitely goes into the wrong direction. It has to be angled like this. Yep, that is a lot better. That adds like the perfect final touch to the background. Or, yeah, I think it's perfect. It's perfect as it is. And yeah, how does the lazy dry start works, or any dry start, because the difference between the lazy dry start and the regular dry start is just the way you plant the plants. And the way I planted the Marsilea and Eleucharis was the regular way. The way I sprinkled Monte Carlo was the lazy way. But after that period, basically when you do the dry start period, it is the same. The substrate is now wet and is going to provide enough humidity to the entire aquarium to keep the plants moist all the time, because the water is going to evaporate. You will see it by the mist that will cover all the glass inside. So a spray bottle this size is literally all you need for the next week or 2 weeks. Trust me. So I'm going to, let's pretend the glass lid on top. Oh my god, it looks so nice. I'm really curious if with that lid that is going to be enough humidity, because there is some sort of air circulation going on, so that should eliminate the need of opening it every so often. But I don't know, I would definitely open it once a day, at least in the beginning. And now let's talk about the amount of spray water. So that is day one. So I would keep it right now as it is until tomorrow. Tomorrow what I would do, I would open it. That was a nice sound. Put it aside. Breeze inside, you know, just to, or blow inside to get some air circulation, to have some sort of air exchange. But now I open it on day one. And the amount of spray I'm going to apply to that aquarium on a daily basis, or maybe twice a day, is literally that much. Pay attention. This is a small spray bottle of, I don't know, like, it is a very small spray bottle. That's it. That's it. No more. Just a little. Just a tiny little to keep the plants wet. That is enough. If I see people spray inside, like why? A couple sprays and the plants are wet. They're covered with a thin layer of moisture, and then you put the lid back on, or if you have a clear film, you put the clear film back on. That's it. And you have to observe the plants, the humidity inside. I don't know how this lid is going to work out, because there is like a little gap in between the rim of the aquarium and the lid. So I will observe the tank several times a day to see how wet the plants are. Ideally, you start something like this on a weekend where you can spend, you know, checking the tank several times a day. But literally just spray 2-3 times that amount, just like, you know, 1, 2, 3, just like this. That is absolutely enough. One thing missing is the light. I recommend using for that setup the ONF Flat Nano with a stand, because it can go underneath. The light is freestanding. I guess it's going to look just really awesome. I don't have it here yet, so I will temporarily use something different and then upgrade later on to the mentioned light. And the light I will set for 12-hour period per day on a timer. And yeah, that's it. Oh, one more important thing. You want a dry start like this, whether it was a lazy dry start or a regular one, to be bioactive. And this is a term I learned from Tanner over at Serpo Design. Shout out Tanner. Congratulations to the 500,000 subscriber milestone. Amazing. And congratulations on going full-time on YouTube now. Bioactive means you have some little animals inside, like springtails, that are going to combat all the mold and fungus that is eventually going to appear. I don't have any springtails here right now, but I will overlay some footage of how I added them to my previous dry start. And so I will get some springtails tomorrow and add them in here. I really like the final look. It looks like a miniature diorama. I'm very happy with the result. And I think in about 4 to 6 weeks period of time, you will have a solid Monte Carlo carpet. The Eleucharis will already have built some runners. Same for the Marsilea. Eventually, already a little bit earlier, we have to see how it goes. And yeah, that's it. For spraying, you use RO water because you don't want calcium stains on the glass. And that's it.
So this is it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the first episode of this Nano Aquascapes, how-to tutorial series. I'm very excited. It's cool to have my very own Nano Aquarium gallery, and some like the mini pond are going to be no CO2, no filter. Something like the terrestrial moss Iwagumi is pretty much low budget because you can just get some rocks and collect the moss locally. Very excited about the future upcoming videos, and now it's your turn. Comment down below and let me know which one of these nano aquariums, terrariums, this next tutorials, which one you want to be in the next video. So to make it simple, let's give them numbers. Number 1 is this vertical cork. Number 2 is the Wabikusa. Number 3 is the terrestrial moss Wabikusa or terrestrial moss Iwagumi. Number 4 is the Botanica Boutique moss terrarium. That one we already had today. The mini pond or the DOOA Terra base. And I would say let's put like brackets around the Terra base and the cork bark since they're not scaped yet. And I really would like to provide you, like I did today, a little bit of a progress within the same video, so you see the making of, the final result like after a few weeks time. So literally vote between number 2 and number 6. If you liked today's video, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so yet. And I'm gonna see you in the next one. Peace.